Hey Fish Fam, just wanted to do a quick update on the Pacu. It was about 3 weeks ago that I ended up having to move these guys out of the 10 gallon into the 20 gallon, and I did a video of it at the time, the tank build and everything, the things that I was considering for them when I did it, and the SD card died, so I lost the footage. It's taken me a little while to have time to come back and update on this. These guys are a little bit weird. They're not growing nearly as quickly as I thought they would, but I am keeping them at 74 degrees, which is the temperature of the room here. They are the least sociable fish that I have ever owned. And I think that's something that's probably worth knowing if you're planning to keep these. Normally, within 3 or 4 weeks, fish figure out that you're the source of food, and they'll come out and be social and they'll beg for food and things. And these guys, the only reason they're out at all is that I threw a whole bunch of hornwort on the top to give it more of a hidden, shaded appearance, so they feel more like they're hiding from me right now. And even then, only these two are out. The other two, oh no, there's 3. Amazing. The other one is still hiding. I'm going to throw some food in, see if maybe I can get them to come out that way. But they have been a rather unrewarding pet up to this point. It's interesting to try to find ways to trick them into coming out, but overall they don't want anything to do with anybody. They don't want anything to do with people. If more than one person is in the room, they hide and refuse to come out at all, even if we're across the room. I put some platies in there, you can see, just to act as dither fish, to kind of try to convince them, hey, everything's okay, it's safe to come out, but they just don't do it. At this point, they're still small enough that they can eat fish flakes. If you're going to have these guys, when they're small, it's a good idea to give them a very high-protein diet to promote growth. They aren't really interested in any plants at all when they're small. I know when they're larger, they're supposed to be mostly vegetarian, but at this size, peas and carrots and things like that are just completely ignored. They want no part of it. They only want meat. Something that's a lot of fun, let me go ahead and get some of these real quick, but the little Gammarus shrimp, they really enjoy chasing around. And this really tickles me when they do it, because most teleost fish have the ability to extend their mouths to create a suction. It's going to take them a little while to notice they're there. Most teleost fish have the ability to extend their mouths and create a suction to suck food in, but because of these guys' teeth, they can't do that. So they just chase things around, opening and closing their mouths like costume dentures. And of course, they're not going to do it now because they can't see anything. I don't know, it's just the funniest thing to watch them hunt. I'm going to grab some more of these shrimp and see if I can't get enough in there to make them notice that they're there, because it's amazing to watch, and it makes me laugh so much. The largest one is probably twice the size of the others at this point. I don't think that's because it's a male or anything like that. I think it's just that it's less cowardly. It is frequently out and about when the others will hide all day. So it's probably going to be problematically large compared to the other ones fairly soon. Overall size, I would say they're probably about 10 times the mass that they were when I got them. I don't know, they're still a lot of fun to watch, but the only time I can really watch them is while they're feeding. I know it doesn't look like it's excessively dim in there on the video because I've got the contrast turned way up, but it's actually really hard to see them in person right now because of all the shading and all the other lights that are around it because of large tanks and things. So what I'm looking at right now is like little flashes of red dart by, while when I look at the camera, there's lots of silver, there's lots of gray, there's lots of contrast moving around. So if you're going to keep these guys, definitely try to keep the tank covered. They definitely don't like light at all. It's kind of problematic for the other plants that I put in there, but honestly I was expecting them to eat all those other plants anyways. So that's not a huge deal. I just threw some wisteria in there because I figured they'd probably screw them up and break them. At some point they'll probably figure out that the hornwort is edible, like the Severums did, and at that point, I don't know what's going to happen to their shade.
The other thing to know about these guys is because they can't really create that mouth suction, they do a terrible job of cleaning up stuff once it's on the floor. So if you're going to try to give them pellets, make sure that they can actually catch them.
If you're going to do flake food, try not to do more than they can catch while it's in the air easily. And if you've still got issues, make sure that you have other fish that can and will pick the tank clean. Now the stuff that's left in here, the platies are going to be perfectly happy to go through and eat that, but without them it would just sit in there and rot because they just can't create the kinds of suction that other fish use to pick stuff up off of gravel. The rate these guys are growing, it's probably going to be another month before I have to move them into a larger tank. I will try to get an update video on the build and how things are going then. We'll see if maybe they're a little bit more sociable, but I suspect they're probably going to have to get to 5 or 6 inches before they're really going to be willing to come out and, you know, be buddy-buddy with anybody. At the moment, they're still small enough that they're definitely prey items to a large number of things, so they're still acting like prey items, even though there's other fish out here saying, hey, it's safe. Nope, mouth full of gravel. You can see that guy managed to find a pellet, and I don't know, that's the funniest thing to me, to watch them eat. A couple of them have figured out that if they go up to stuff on the bottom and they back sweep with their fins, that they can knock it up and collect it that way. I think two of the 4 have figured that out. The pellets are still kind of problematic because of the gravel, but as they get bigger and the pellets get bigger, that will be less of an issue. Part of why I find this so funny is that most of the fish that I keep are cichlids, and cichlids, the chewing jaws are on the inside. So you never actually get to see them chew anything up. They take the food in, their mouths are closed, you can tell that there's something going on in there, but there's no way to see it. So something that just openly sits here and chews is, it's something different, it's something a little special, and I just find it really funny.